In 1883, at Marx's funeral, Engels said, "Just as Darwin discovered the law of development of organic nature, so Marx discovered the law of development of human history." He was talking about historical materialism, which is based on dialectical materialism. In this book, Stalin first explains the Marxist dialectical method, then Marxist philosophical materialism, and lastly he explains how historical materialism is the extension of these principles to the study of society and history. Okay, so first, what is the Marxist dialectical method? Stalin outlines 4 principles of the Marxist dialectical method, but I want to draw your attention to 2 of them. The first principle reminds me of the joke from the Big Bang Theory sitcom about a physicist solving a problem in a chicken farm, but the solution only works for spherical chickens in a vacuum. The point is clear. The natural phenomenon should be understood and explained by being considered in connection with surrounding phenomena rather than as an isolated form, independent from other pressures. This is the first principle. The other principle has to do with contradictions. This is where the term dialectical comes from. In ancient times, dialectics was the art of arriving at truth by disclosing contradictions in the argument of an opponent and overcoming these contradictions. Later, Hegelian dialectics had a big influence on Marx's work. The point is that contradictions are inherent in nature and history. Development proceeds by way of disclosure of internal contradictions, by way of collision between opposite forces on the basis of these contradictions, and so as to overcome these contradictions. Marx put it best in the opening of the Communist Manifesto. The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. Freeman and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and serf, guildmaster and journeyman, in a word, oppressor and oppressed, stood in constant opposition to one another, carried on an uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight, a fight that each time ended either in a revolutionary reconstruction of society at large or in common ruin of the contending classes. Today we have the working class and the ownership class. Okay, so we've covered the dialectical method. So what is Marxist philosophical materialism? The principal features of Marxist philosophical materialism are that it believes in an objective reality and that this reality and its laws are knowable. Further, spiritual life, political theories, and political institutions arise in the conditions of material life of society. Hence, if in different periods in history different ideas and institutions are observed, this is explained by the different material conditions of society at those times. It does not follow that ideas have no effect on society, but rather that they are a reflection of material conditions, and as soon as theory has gripped the masses, it has become a material force. So now we've explained both the dialectical method and philosophical materialism. Stalin now moves on to historical materialism, which again is the extension of these principles to the study of society and history. We made the claim that spiritual life, political theories, and political institutions arise in the condition of material life of society. But we still have to clarify what we mean by material conditions of society. To put it bluntly, it is the economic system of the time period. There are other factors like geography, population density, etc. But the chief determinant force is the productive forces of society. The methods of producing the means of life, like food, clothes, shelters, the instruments we use to produce these things, and the relations of people with one another in the process. So when an economic system changes, whether from slavery to feudalism or feudalism to capitalism, this causes changes in the ideas, theories, political views, and institutions of societies. This is historical materialism in a nutshell. When studying a time period, one should pay attention at what are the inherent contradictions caused by the predominant economic system of the time. Capitalism, for example, has crises of overproduction because it produces larger and larger quantities of commodities, reduces their prices, intensifies competition, ruins the mass of small and medium private owners, and reduces the purchasing power of workers, with the result that it becomes impossible to sell the commodities they produce. This is just one of many possible examples of contradictions in the capitalist system.